Hello, my name is Jaquan Shockley, and welcome back to TableTips. Today we're going to be going over the Polyhedral Dice system in not only D&D, but many other various TTRPGs as well. Let's get started. So, for those that don't know what the Polyhedral Dice system is, it's the dice that you get when you play TTRPGs. You normally get about 7 of them, and each of the dice end up looking different. Now, I know people are normally used to like the cube dice with like the dots on it, but with the Polyhedral Dice system, there are a lot more dice, and instead of dots, they have actual numbers. So, we'll go over the first one. So, the first and primarily main dice you'll use in the Polyhedral Dice system is the D20, and it looks just like this. It's a dice that has 20 sides, that has, numbers, 29, 18. It's just a dice with 20 sides. Now, this is the primary dice you use for almost all TTRPGs. D&D, Pathfinder, maybe Alien, they might have a different rule system. But when you think of the Polyhedral Dice system or TTRPGs in general, this is the main dice. This is the cover. This is the prime staple of role-playing games. Like, you'll see this almost everywhere. You'll find this on like the logo of Foundry. You'll find it on the logo of Roll20.net. You'll see this also on Critical Role. Their logo is a D20. Same thing with Dimension 20. The D20 is the main dice you use everywhere. Like I said, it has 20 sides. This decides ability checks, score rolls, things like that. A lot of bonuses and additives will be added from this dice alone by itself. So whenever you're playing a role-playing game, as long as you have this dice, you should be fine to play for the entire game. Now, with different RPGs, sometimes you won't use this, but it's very rare. It's super rare, but, just check in with the person that's running the game to see if you'll be using this. But whenever you buy a Polyhedral Dice set, normally this is the dice that's going to be coming with the set of 7. Like, if someone sells you a Polyhedral Dice set without this, they might be doing you a disservice. So the D20 is the main dice you'll always see, and this is the shape of it, 20 sides. Now, the next dice that you'll see going kind of, descending downwards is the D12. So, in D&D terms, you don't really use this dice a lot. Now, that's just as far as D&D terms. As far as any other TTRPG, that could be, a different kind of case. But I'm kind of just going off of D&D because that's the most experience I have in. The D12 is a dice that you rarely use. Now, you normally use, dice like this to determine something on like a random table, or you're swinging with like a very gigantic weapon. There's 12 sides to it, so you're going to get a big number somewhere. Obviously, you're still going to roll low at sometimes too. But the D12, you ever roll this in combat, you're about to do some serious damage, or at least I hope for the most part. So whenever your DM asks you for a D12, it looks just like this. Now, just to let you know, from the last D20 and this D12, this is one of my personal sets. I like it because it has like a sky kind of like color on it. It's like blue and white, so that's what I like. Next on the Polyhedral Dice system, we have the D10. It looks just like this. And how I compare this, to, people at the table, is that this looks like a UFO. At least in my mind, this looks like a UFO. Now, this D10, it has 10 sides. All D10s will have 10 sides because it's D10. And you'll see on here that there is a 0. A 0 does not mean 0. A 0 means 10. Now, your DM or your Game Master might, think of this otherwise. They might have their own rules for what a 0 is. But in my general knowledge of understanding, a 0 on a D10 is a 10, because there wouldn't be any point of you going below 1. So like the 1 is here, and then like on the flip side there is a 0. So a D10 is, a dice with 10 sides. Now, the fun part about a D10 is that it has a counterpart. It's another D10. However, the difference between the two is this one has single digit numbers and this one has double digit numbers. So, and these are double digits by 10. So you can see there's a 80, there's a 20, there's a 50, you can see a 30 right there. There's a, I think that's a 90. Yeah, that's a 90 right there. So this dice goes together with this dice. So the single digit numbers and the double digit numbers, put them together, and now you have a D100. So I'm going to take these two numbers, I'm going to roll them right now. Okay, I got a 20 and a 7. So put them together, that's 27. So whenever your DM asks you for a D100 roll, pull out these two guys and you'll have a D100. Now, there is a special case with the D100 where you can go to the store and you can buy this big ball. It's a dice that looks like a big ball, and there's 100 numbers on it. Now, the problem with having something like that is when you roll it, it will continue to roll for a long time because the sides of them, they're not really cut and dry. So the dice won't stop automatically. It'll roll for maybe another 30 seconds. But with this, since they have flat sides, it stops pretty easily. So I'm gonna roll it again. I got an 82, because 80 right here, and then 2. So you have 82. So, like I said, whenever your Dungeon Master or Game Master asks you for a D20 roll, pick up the first D20 with a single digit number, and pick up the second D20 with the double digit numbers, roll them together, and you'll have your D100. Now, next on the Polyhedral Dice system is the D8. So, a D8, like I said, you know, in D&D terms, is a more common dice that you'll see amongst combat. So it's the diamond shape. It's pretty simple. There's 4 sides on the top, there's 4 sides on the bottom. Pretty easy to identify with this one. Like I said, this is when you're, you know, primarily rolling like great swords, great hammers, great axes, and things like that. Yeah, so like I said, descending order, you have the D8, and yeah, always kind of keep this by your side. So whenever I'm playing D&D, I'll normally keep like the D20 on the table, and then I'll keep like a D8 like right next to it, because I know that's the dice I'm going to be using a lot. I think as far as like, I mean, okay, D8s, they're used in many classes in D&D, but I play as a ranger, so I normally use D8s most of the time. So I just keep them together just to keep it pretty simple. Now, the next dice you'll see in the Polyhedral Dice system is one that is very common. It is the D6. The D6 is the dice that you will use not only in D&D, but you use it all the time in billions of other games, not even just TTRPGs. Like the D6 you use in Monopoly. I think you use the D6 in the game of Life. I think you use it in the game of Trouble. It's literally just a dice with 6 sides. And in the span of the lifetime, a D6 is, you'll use it all the time. The D6 is that dice that you have with the dots on it instead. However, in the Polyhedral Dice system, they're now just clear-cut numbers instead of dots on them. So this is the primary dice that you will use almost all the time, you know, if anything. You know, besides the D20. The D20 you'll use all the time in TTRPGs, but the D6, you've probably been using it since you were like 2 years old. You just now know the name of it, a D6. So it is the cube dice, just like that. And last but certainly not least in the Polyhedral Dice system, we have the D4. So the D4, let me tell you, this dice is rarely used for anything. So in D&D terms, you would normally use a D4 like when you're rolling to heal, like, you know, a regular potion, 2D4 plus 2. Or if you're making like an unarmed strike, you roll the D4 and add any bonuses you have on it. But other than that, this dice isn't really used for anything. Now, your GM could have a different ruling about it, you know, depending on the rule sets of the game that they present. But this D4, you use it for, like I said, potions, punching somebody without a weapon, or I think it's dagger damage too, so like 1d4 plus like 2. It's a very weak dice, but in specific circumstances it could be used very greatly, so that's something you'll just have to check in with. But yeah, that's the D4 for you. So it looks just like a pyramid. And also, just so you guys know, when you're using the D4, let's say I roll it right now, I got a 4, right? The way to determine what number you got on it is the number that's on the very top. So let's say I roll the d4 and it lands just like this. The 4 is on the top. So the 4 is the number that you got. So that's how you read the d4. And that there, guys, is the polyhedral dice system. This is all of my personal dice that I have here. I also have more dice in here. I carry them with me kind of wherever I go. I have like, I think 35 sets of dice. And I will say that after a while, once you start collecting dice, it gets very addicting. Like I said, I have so many, like, this is one of my personal favorites. It's like a purple and bluish D20. What else do I have in here? I have a big D20 with a butterfly on it. It's hard to see, but there's a butterfly on the inside of that. And then I have a D20 that glows in the dark. So there are many different kinds of polyhedral dice set that you can buy. And places that you can buy them are like GameStop, your local board game store, Walmart, Target, places like that. Walmart and Target, they don't have a big variety. They'll probably have like 1 or 2 sets. But at tabletop game stores, you're gonna get like 1,000 sets. And when you buy your first one, you're gonna keep buying all of them. You're just gonna keep going through it. Now, mind your pockets, mind your wallets, because it adds up after a while. I think for this set that I bought right here, this blue one, I think it cost me like $7 or $10. But obviously over time it adds up. And I think the highest number that I've seen for dice is $200, which is crazy. Which I think is just a collectible at that point. So yeah. But that is the polyhedral dice system for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this segment of Table Tips, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one.